Members of 13 Hamas terror cells operating in the West Bank, including some with ties to Syria, who were plotting attacks against Israel, have been arrested. Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, released details of their arrests on Wednesday, culminating an operation in which scores were arrested and a number of suicide attacks inside Israel thwarted. One of the cells was responsible for the bomb attack at a Jerusalem bus stop opposite the International Convention Centre in March, in which a British tourist was killed and scores injured, the Shin Bet said. A senior Shin Bet official said the wave of arrests indicate the extent Hamas has gone to build up its presence in the West Bank and concentrate its efforts to launch attacks against Israel. Not only Palestinians, but some Arabs with Israeli identity cards were members of the cells. Some of the attacks thwarted due to the arrests of cell members include a planned suicide bomb attack at the Jerusalem neighborhood of Pisgat Ze'ev. The attack was averted after Israeli security officials arrested East Jerusalem resident Azhar Arata at his Ras Al Amud home. Arata, who holds an Israeli identity card, admitted to being involved in the bomb attack in Jerusalem in March. He said he also planned to abduct Israeli citizens. His arrest led to the capture of the would-be suicide bomber Saeed Kouasme from Hebron, security officials said. The two revealed that Hamas officials in Damascus transferred funds to the West Bank via a courier, and also sent directives for future attacks against Israeli targets. Israel police and Shin Bet arrested the courier, Jordanian national with a Palestinian identity card, as he attempted to return to Jordan. A senior Palestinian official blasted the United States, saying it's showing disdain for Arabs by trying to prevent the Palestinian statehood recognition at the United Nations. America's policy appears to be confined to one point: stopping the Palestinians from embarking on the initiative, Palestinian official Yasser Abed-Rabou said Wednesday. The subject is not settlements or Palestinian independence or the rights of the Palestinian people, or halting criminal violations perpetrated by settlers against the Palestinian people, he said in an interview on the Voice of Palestine radio. His statements came as U.S. Middle East envoy David Hale was poised to meet with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in the latest American effort to halt the UN maneuver and convince the Palestinians to resume direct negotiations with Israel. The chairman of Israel's Electric Corporation and a former IDF general warned Israel is inadequately prepared to defend itself against growing cyber threats. Speaking at the Tzvi Meitar Institute for Land Warfare conference, Yitzhak Rontal said Israel must prepare for the possibility that its enemies have already succeeded in installing viruses inside computer systems that control military and civilian infrastructure. Israel is under threat and could already have experienced a silent infiltration that will be activated when the enemy wants, he declared. Ron Tal, the former head of the Army's ground forces, said the Electric Corporation must also be prepared for such a threat and requires intelligence that will enable it to detect infiltrations and know how to minimize the damage caused by such an attack on the nation's electric grid. Following the wave of anti-regime protests in the Middle East, it's only a matter of time before Iran will be confronted with a revolution, U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta predicted. If such protests erupt in Iran, the United States should take every step to support such an effort, but analyze the situation to ensure that nothing is done to undermine it, he said. The reform movement in Iran is learning a lot from what is happening in Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, and Syria, he declared. Iran's leaders had hoped the Arab Spring would bring an end to the US-backed regimes in the Arab world. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has called the events the Islamic Awakening, saying it has been inspired by Iran's 1979 revolution that replaced a Western-backed king with a Muslim theocracy. Israel's ambassador to Egypt returned to the country earlier this week, following tensions and anti-Israeli protests outside the embassy building in Cairo. Yitzhak Levanon returned to Cairo on Monday from a private vacation. During his absence, former Ambassador Shalom Cohen served as the Cairo envoy. In recent weeks, anti-Israeli protests have occurred outside the embassy, and protesters demanded to expel Israel's ambassador and end the 1979 peace treaty. The anti-Israeli sentiment has increased since last month's terror attack on the Israel-Egyptian border, in which 8 Israelis were killed. 6 Egyptian troops were killed by Israeli soldiers pursuing the terrorists who fled back into Egypt following the attack. Syrian security forces stormed the city of Homs again on Wednesday, cutting off telecommunications and killing more anti-regime protesters. Witnesses reported heavy gunfire in the city where troops raided homes. Some reports claim 7 people were killed in the city and said landlines and internet and mobile phone lines have been cut. A Syrian activist told foreign media outlets that tanks moved into the city before dawn and began machine gunning homes at random. Wednesday's raid came after President Bashar Assad asked Arab League Secretary General Nabil al-Arabi to postpone his visit to the country. The ongoing violence led the European Union to impose sanctions on Syria, but the steps appear to have had little effect. The Arab Organization for Human Rights estimates that more than 2,450 civilians and 700 members of the security forces have been killed since anti-government protests erupted in the country in March. An estimated 20,000 people are believed to have been imprisoned.